Hi guys, hope everybody is well and has had a good week thus far. Friday already. I've had a good week. Glad to be back in my natural habitat. I did a couple of videos over the weekend and I was confined to my den as the kids were using the front room. And it was difficult, it was definitely difficult. And then obviously one of the videos I had like half my face cut off and the devil's like, ha ha, your face is cut off. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to post it. But then God was like, excuse me, did I send you online to look pretty? Or, have I not got a message to be sent? So I was like, I'm going to post the message anyway. So I did that. And, that's just a sign of things, in terms of it doesn't always come out the way we want it, but just keep going, go with it. And, it will work itself out. Wanted to shoot a video today just before we head into the weekend. Just want to talk about focus, that laser light focus, like tunnel vision is a must. And when I talk about tunnel vision, I mean focusing, keeping your eye on the prize, whatever that is for you, whatever your goal is, but having that laser-like focus and that relentless goal setting and not looking left or right at the next to see what they're doing and just focusing on you and your goals. And the reason why I say that is it's just, you have to do it. If you really have any real intention of getting to where you need to be it fitness goals, be it work goals, be it body, whatever that looks like. It could be spiritual goals in terms of getting closer to God. Whatever that looks like for you, you need to keep your laser light focus and tunnel vision. Stop looking left or right. Stop, watching others. And there's really two sides to this. There's the first side where we're looking that way and we are watching face and we're caring about what people think about us, and therefore we're not stepping into our goals with the intention that we need to, because we're so focused on what others might think and what they might say, when the opinions of man are not our concern. We just need to do what we're doing and it will present itself how it needs to. And then there's the other side of we are watching others. We're watching what they're doing, how they're doing, and, we're just focused on just watching other people to a point where we're watching so much that we end up stuck and not working towards our own thing because we're intimidated by seeing other people achieve the things that they're setting out to achieve. And so it's so important. Yes, lift up your head a little bit to help that next person that needs help. But if you're helping someone, make sure it's someone that actually wants to help themselves. Make sure it's somebody that's participating in their own rescue as opposed to just helping for the sake of it. Because if you're just helping and trying to save everyone, which we can't do, you're going to burn out, and that's going to hinder your goals. That's going to hinder your progress in terms of working towards your goals. And then on the other side, yes, look at others a little bit in terms of being inspired, but make sure it's people that are on the same or similar journeys as you, so that you can be inspired, and make sure you are inspired and that you don't fall into the spirit of envy and jealousy, which happens if we sit in watching too much. When you see somebody, in a race and they look left or right and you see them looking at their competition, what happens? It slows them down. And that's exactly what will happen if we do not have laser light focus and tunnel vision when focusing on our own goals. That doesn't mean we're in a race with others. It doesn't mean we're in competition with others. But it does mean we are working towards a goal, and therefore we need to focus on it. Whilst I say God's timing is everything, it doesn't mean we want to procrastinate any further, because we all know we've sat on our goals longer than we needed to. And, in terms of watching other people, I get it. We live in a very watch-face society. It's become the norm, especially with social media, especially with Instagram, scrolling. Yes, be inspired, but listen, the problem with that is a one-way ticket to sitting in some form of jealousy and envy. Yes, I said it, because you're constantly looking at people putting their best foot forward or their highlight reels, and you start to compare that with your whole picture. You're comparing their surface level of what you know, and you are comparing that with your whole picture when you know your struggles, and comparing the two, and we know nothing about what anyone goes through. And that's not me wishing anything on anyone. We just don't know the whole picture or whole story. So learn to take it with a pinch of salt, and just learn to not get into the habit of just doing that, because you're going to send yourself into a hole of stuckness and stagnancy, which you don't want to get into, because time will pass you by and it's going to be the end of the year and you'll be setting the same goals as you was last year, which you don't want to be doing. You want to be in a place where you've achieved enough that you can say, okay, now I'm adding to that. And so often part of our setback is not seeing enough progress in the time frame that we want. You've got to be willing to do this regardless of the results you see, because if you're waiting for the results, you will never be consistent. When you start working out, you're not going to see any real physical change that soon. You might feel a bit better, and you're meant to go off of that momentum of feeling that bit better. But in terms of the physical goals, it takes 6, 9, 12, 18 weeks sometimes to even see a smidgen of change. And sometimes we go up before we go down in terms of weight if we're doing weight loss, and sometimes with our goals we go back before we go forward, in terms of there'll be setbacks before we get forward. And we've got to be okay with that. And if we hang on to that, if we're looking for Rome to be built in a day, if we're looking for the minute that we start working towards those goals, for it to just keep going up, 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 without any setbacks, without any, falling off, then we're kidding ourselves, we're lying to ourselves. The key is to stay consistent regardless of the setbacks, regardless of the results. Just keep going. And that's why I'm saying you've got to have that laser-like tunnel vision where you're just looking to the goal. So even if you do trip up, fall, graze your knee, you just get back up and dust yourself off, and that will look different for everyone. I have those days in terms of I would have had like a productive couple of weeks, but just because so much has happened and there's been so much change, the self-sabotage kicks in. That little small voice for the enemy starts to kick in. And so I'll have a down day. In fact, I'll have two, because the way it works for me is I'll have that day of self-doubt and having to reflect on things, and I'll let it really, sink in. And then the next day is me chopping it up with God, and God talking about, okay, this is how we then step out and how the next steps will go. It's usually 2 days, but do you know what? I've learned to give myself grace in that, because by allowing myself that grace, I know I'll always get back up and keep going. By sitting in self-condemnation and not giving myself grace when it happens will only set me back further. And I think a lot of us need to find a practice where we allow ourselves to have a down day or two, just 2 max, and then get up and keep going. But being distracted, whether it be sitting on the phone and talking about all these things you want to do, spilling it to people who have no business in supporting you or helping you get there, is just so detrimental, and it's going to continue to set you back if you don't curb some of that sitting in gossip, sitting and just talking about things that aren't moving the message forward and not getting you any closer. It's all going to hinder your journey. So I just want to encourage you today to start thinking about what it is you're working for, or what it is you're working towards, so that you can start to really, really home in and get focused with it. I know some of you may have started with the new year, but already that momentum's starting to wane. No. Get your journal out. If you started journaling before the new year, talking about your goals and how you expected to execute them, open it up so that you can reflect on that. If you didn't start journaling because you kept it all in the head, now is the time to start getting those things and those ideas down on paper. It's a must. Trust me, I know. When I kept all my ideas in my head, I just kept on ticking over them, mulling over them all the time. And then when I was then distracted with other things. They became an afterthought. They became a thought in the back of my mind. But when they're down on paper, you always have them as a reference point, and you don't have to carry them heavy in your head. You can attend to the other things that you need to attend to in your life, and then where they're down on paper, you go back to it. You set timelines. You put ideas and stuff on your calendars so that it's visual, you can see it, and that way it keeps you steady and keeps you working towards them. So start trying to get into that habit. Use that time over the weekend, if you have it, to start doing that. It may sound tedious, but it's the only way you're going to get there. And like I said, everyone's looks different. It could be that baking journey, that jewelry making journey, that business, that fitness journey. It could be anything. And stop thinking about the bigger picture. Stop expecting 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of work to get you to the top of the mountain, because you never know what it's going to look like. That baking business that you assumed is going to be you may not turn out like that, nor may the jewelry making business, because times are hard, so people aren't spending as much money on cakes, expensive cakes or expensive jewelry. But it may be that way you start doing it and someone sees it, they may ask you to come and just do a workshop or a birthday party, and that may be the path that your business then goes on to take. But God can't bless you with that opportunity if you're not even starting. If you're thinking about, how do I make money from this? You can't make money your focus. Yes, the idea is to make money, but this is why I say to do it as a hobby if you can, alongside your job. Do it as a hobby first. Don't do it for the money right away, because if you make that your focus, you'll never get started. So I just want to give you that food for thought to go away with over the weekend, and just start getting things down. Start reflecting about when and how you're spending your downtime. Are you spending it just scrolling through social media, where there's so much to be learned, but it's so much distractions too? Are you spending it just watching programs back to back to back, when you should be focusing on your own journey? Are you spending it keying on the phone constantly? Which, yes, it's good to catch up, but be mindful of how much time you're lending to that. It's just not productive. And what are you really talking about that's moving the message forward? And I'm not trying to shade anyone's social life. By all means, continue it and have that time, but just make sure it's edifying, make sure it's uplifting, make sure it's in line with where you're trying to get to, as opposed to distracting. And in terms of watching face about others and what they're saying and their opinions, we can't be doing that. People are always going to have something to say, and people are always going to have something negative to say. Not everybody, but many, because it's just the world we live in. We've become comfortable with jealousy and envy. We've become comfortable with tearing others down. So you're always going to get a bit of that. You can't please everybody, but understand, if you're working and you're in right standing with God, if you're working for and in right standing with God, the rest is history. You need not worry about any of that. So stop overthinking it. Stop taking on board the comments and the thoughts and the opinions of those who don't have any fruit. No fruit to bear, nothing to show for it. Stop taking their comments and opinions on, because it's only holding you back further. And they couldn't care less about you at the end of the day. And the reality is, if they can keep you stuck too, they will. Yeah, I just want to share that word. I just want to give that encouragement, that in order to get there, you're going to have a laser-like focus, and you're going to have to set your intentions intently, write them down, and you're going to have tunnel vision, and you're going to have to home in on those goals. But I hope everybody has a good weekend, and I hopefully will be back at some point next week. I hope. Again, I don't know what my weeks look like. And before I go, I have seen that there are a few more subscribers. I just want to say thank you. It just means a lot, and I'm really, really, really grateful for the support and whatever it is you're getting from it, whether you have subscribed because you do take things from the videos, or whether you're just doing it to support. I'm really grateful, so thank you and welcome to the new subscribers. But yes, I hope everybody has a good weekend, and hopefully we will catch up in the new week. Take care, look after yourselves. Bye.